Hi everyone, it's been a long time since our last update.
I think our last video was us finishing the roofing on the Tiny. One of the really cool things that's been happening lately is we've been getting people out working on the Tiny who have never worked on the Tiny with us yet. So we're getting a lot of friends and family out here who've never been out here before and seeing it and putting their time and energy and effort in. So we just really want to take a moment to thank these people and pass them our love and gratitude, because it's been so awesome having each of these people out there helping us push this tiny home forward.
So the first person we want to thank is Sam Orman, who threw down a whole day of work working with us on the window wall.
We also want to thank Sean and my brother Luke, who came out. This is Sean, hello. Our awesome friend Sean. He's come to assist. My also awesome little brother here. He does stuff good sometimes when he's feeling like it. My cousin Lucy came out and helped. My brother-in-law Nickel, he came out and he did a lot of work with the figuring out the window actuators in the beginning and hooking them up. And he just was a lot of fun partying with too.
And my brother Brian flew down with his wife Sonia from Alaska.
Brian, what are we doing?
This is a review for the Lineator Actuator 1000.
I want to give a special thanks out to the whole Barrett clan. So Nils and Bernie have been out there more than anyone, and they just keep throwing their energy and time and days to really help us push the Tiny forward. They've just been an amazing support. And then the other day they had their whole family pretty much come out. They had Elizabeth Barrett, who's Nils' wife, and then Anders Barrett, who's Nils and Bernie's brother, come out, and they just went ham on installing a bunch of Ansel boards. So that was awesome having them all out there working on it the same day. My dad came out and helped one day with me, and it was the first time just having him and me out there working, and he helped me tackle a bunch of the plumbing. That was freaking awesome. We also want to give special thanks to a new friend that we made, Leo. Leo found us on Instagram, and then we started messaging back and forth, and we were just bonding over timber frame tiny homes. And he lives in New York, and he actually flew out here to California, and he helped us, and he put a day in on the Tiny and helped us install that window into the wall that moves up. And that was just super cool having him out there and making friends from unexpected places like that. We also want to give some special thanks out to Orion and Ben, who came out from their renovated bus called Frequent Stops. So they actually did a lot of this detail work from wood that Claire and I milled up here on the ranch. This is black oak. Toby painted their entire ceiling here. We have beds that fold out. Just that black oak trim all over, and then their amazing kitchen right here, just huge. So let's get to what's been happening since we finished the roof, which is where we left off last time. So what we did right after we finished the roof is we installed a layer of plywood all the way around the tiny home, kind of acts as sheer. And then the next thing we did was acquire all of the windows and doors that we needed for the tiny home.
So the windows and the doors was actually a fairly big obstacle when we first started. We were looking at the price of new windows on Lowe's and different websites, and the windows were just exorbitantly expensive. Especially, we wanted a lot of windows and we wanted very big windows. So we were just looking at a way that we could do that affordably without breaking our bank. So the way we did that was we actually found windows and doors on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. And in these two sources, we were able to find all the windows and doors that we needed.
That worked really well for us because we weren't set on specific measurements for our windows or our doors. We had flexibility, right? We knew the general size that we wanted, but we weren't bound to that. But it was critical that we got those windows and doors because I couldn't start the next part of the framing until I knew our exact dimensions. So we needed those exact windows and those exact doors ready to be installed so I can measure the framing to each of those windows and doors. So when Orion and Ben came out from their Bus Adventures Frequent Stops, they came out with the pretense to learn how to weld. So Nils Barrett offered to give them a lesson in welding, and we used our tiny home as practice for the weld. So this worked out for everyone. So they were able to learn how to weld, and I was able to get the back metal step put on the back of the tiny home, which was absolutely necessary for that back wall to have bearing and for the door going out of the bathroom in the back of the trailer. And so after we got all of our windows and then we did the framing, the next thing that came was the next big purchase that we needed to make, and that was 2 layers of insulation board that needed to cover around the entire building. So that was kind of an intimidating purchase. We've already been pouring a lot of funds into this, so I knew this purchase was coming up. I was a little intimidated by it, but then out of the blue, Paul gave us this amazing gesture, or gift, I should say, and he completely covered the cost of all our insulation board for us for the build. So just to give you a little background on Paul, Paul is essentially the reason why we build as extravagant as we do. So Paul is our building mentor. He's the one who taught us how to build, and the way he builds is essentially over the top. He's a timber framer. He's been timber framing for over 30 years. As a hobbyist, he built his own home and barn from timber frame. Unfortunately, it got burned down in a fire in 2015, but he came back with a fury, and that's when Clara and I joined his team, and that's where we learned is rebuilding his timber frame barn. So we did that last year, and then now we're rebuilding his house, and it's even better than before, and it's just this beautiful, huge, extravagant timber frame home.
Paul's been nothing but supportive and a super great inspiration and mentor throughout this whole process. With any questions or concerns we've had about the build, we've just been able to go to him, and he just puts our worries to rest and kind of just guides us through these tedious moments. So that's been awesome. So our first mission was to cover the entire building with 1 layer of insul board. And this was a very tedious process because we had to cut and fit all these insul board pieces to the different shapes that were on the tiny home. So taking measures and then gluing the first layer and then starting again with a second layer and doing that a second time around the whole building.
Yeah, and one of the challenging aspects of using the insul board was we actually had to melt in relief pockets to fit plumbing and electrical in there. So once we strung up all the plumbing and the electrical, we needed to be able to put another layer of foam board on there, and you couldn't do that with the pipes and the wires sticking out. So we actually melted it with this heat wand, essentially, and that was really gross.
So one of the last steps we left off with was we covered the whole building with Tyvek. So we got this huge roll of Tyvek and wrapped the entire house. We put a bunch of staples to make sure that it's weatherproof. It's actually raining outside, so it was really nice for us to get that shelled in, our weatherproof finally. After we did the Tyvek, we were able to get 3 of our last windows and doors into the tiny. So all of our windows and our doors have finally been installed, which is very exciting for us. It's a really cool feeling to walk in and see where all of your doors and windows are. Kind of feels a little bit more real. We put this really awesome octagon window in our loft, which is really nice because you can crank it open, allows for airflow, and it's just a really pretty accent to our home. So
one of the last things that we ended with just recently was milling siding for the side of the house. Clara just knocked that out, basically milled up all of our siding in one day that we're going to need for the outside of the house. And while she was doing that, I was fussing around with electrical and a little stud wall, the one little tiny stud wall that we have in our tiny home. So that felt like a really productive day.
We just want to thank you guys for following along with this crazy and wild journey of building this home. It means a lot that you're following along and keeping up to date on what we're doing.
Yeah, and we just really appreciate all the interest and love that we've been getting from everyone from all over the place. So friends from across the country even are reaching out and joining us in this endeavor. Yeah, thank you guys again. Also, our videos, we'll try to post more videos like this to keep everybody engaged and seeing what we're doing. But if you want more immediate updates and you're not following us on Instagram, that's actually where we do a really good job of doing our day-to-day progress on Instagram. So you can follow us there too. So thank you.